We are here today with George Papanier. Did I pronounce your name right, George?
You did.
Oh, good. CEO of Twin River Holdings, soon to be Bally's Corporation. And George, you have got to be one of the busiest guys in North America this past, which we'll get to in a minute. But first of all, being 2020, we always have to start with asking about COVID. How is Twin River navigating COVID, and how do you see it working out near and midterm for your company and for the industry?
First off, I'd like to say, Frank, I'm happy to be joining you, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk about our company with you today. So COVID was certainly unique to the industry, but I didn't think it was unprecedented. Considering over the last 20 years in the industry, we've had to go through events like 9/11 and, the longer in duration Great Recession. We fared pretty well, and the industry is resilient, and we managed our way through that. But, we started the year off in 2020, January and February, with great results. I was getting ready to put a really good number for the quarter in the books. And this thing was totally unpredictable, and literally overnight, all our operations shut down. Our entire portfolio was shuttered. So, it forced us to go through a process, which was really to understand what our cash flow burn rate was. And through that exercise, we realized we had to mothball all our operations, as well as furlough 85% of our employees. Thankfully, we were able to maintain their health insurance during that period. And then we started working with the state departments of health to figure out next steps for reopening. And in May, we got word that we could open up our Hard Rock facility, which was our first of our properties to open. And within a month later, we had our entire portfolio open at different levels of capacity. Now, we anticipated there being some pent-up demand. We certainly did see that. But on top of that, we saw that there were some margin improvements overall that we think sustainable over time. So we were happy to see the business start to come back. And then in the third quarter, which we just did our earnings release for, we're actually up over prior year. Now fortunately for us, we have continuously taken proactive steps to maintain a lowly levered balance sheet, which is one of the best balance sheets in the industry. And we like to have high levels of liquidity. So as a result of that, there was an opportunity during this pandemic for us to go out and start acquiring some assets that we really wanted to put in our portfolio. So we were able to buy Bally's from Caesars at a 2x multiple, trailing LTM. And we were also able to buy from Eldorado, the Eldorado Shreveport, Louisiana, and the Mont Bleu Lake Tahoe in Nevada, and we were able to acquire that a little over 4x multiple. And those will be immediately accretive upon closing of those transactions. So we're happy about that. And then we also had opportunities just recently, which were just announced for Jumers from Delaware North in Illinois, and also recently Tropicana, Evansville. So we were happy to get that from Caesars. We did that in the partnership with GLPI, where the OpCo side of that, whereas they'll be the PropCo side of it. So, we think we have a good portfolio at this point in time, and we're looking for good things going forward.
Well, you definitely have been busy. I think there was a time when you were one slot machine, Racino in Rhode Island, and now you're going to be 14 operations in 10 different states in the fairly near future. And you will have the new name. You will have the Bally's name in a few days. Tell us your vision for Bally's and what kind of company we can expect to see if we look down the road, say 3 or 4 years.
Sure. Well, you're right. It's certainly been exciting over the last couple of years, but I think it probably makes sense to take a step back to kind of tell you where we came from to where we are now, and then where we think we're going. Our company was really born out of a prepackaged bankruptcy process, and we emerged from that in November of 2010. And I had the unenviable task or role of being the debtor in possession at that time. And our only focus at that time was to really figure out how we could organically grow our only asset at the time, as you mentioned, which was Twin River outside of Providence, and aggressively pay down debt. Now, we did such a good job of growing Twin River that we found ourselves with a lot of pent-up equity at the time, and we also found ourselves, more importantly, with a really good platform to grow the company. So starting in 2014, we went out and acquired the Hard Rock facility. We immediately improved those results, so that gave us confidence to continue to go out and grow the company. In 2015, we acquired really a woefully performing Newport Grand facility, and we did that for two reasons. The first reason was it was the only other license in the state, and we wanted to control both licenses. But also, we went through a legislative process, including a referendum, and we were able to move that license to the border of Massachusetts to compete against all the new competition that was coming online in Massachusetts. So we greenfield developed that and opened that in September 2018. At the same time, simultaneously, we did a hotel at our Twin River property in Lincoln so that we could more effectively compete, and made it a full service hotel casino at that time. Then shortly after that, we entered into an acquisition and reverse merger arrangement with Delaware, with Dover Downs in Delaware, and that was in March of 2019. So at that point, we were able to go public, and we traded on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol TRWH, which will soon be on November 9th, BALY, as we adopt the Bally's name that we acquired, as you had mentioned. And then we very quickly went out and we acquired 3 assets from Affinity, which were in Black Hawk, Colorado, which we closed and integrated in February of this year. And then 2 assets that we acquired from El Dorado earlier, which was Isle Creek, Kansas City in Missouri, and the Lady Luck Vicksburg. We closed on them in July and integrated them. So, so what we feel we have is, we feel kind of under the radar. We've assembled, as you said earlier, 14 casinos with now in 10 states. We really believe we have one of the best portfolios, regional portfolios in gaming, with unencumbered sports and betting licenses. So, we believe that we'll be able to integrate the technologies and be very successful in that industry as we go on to the next step, which is really creating what I consider to be, or will be, the best omni-channel operating casino in the country.
So if we look 3 or 4 years from now, will you be a 2025 property company, or will you be a company that manages the portfolio that you have with maybe some exceptions to maximize profit, or what will the strategy be for future development?
We're going to continue to go out and look for opportunities opportunistically in order to enter into new states. As we said earlier, we're in 10 states. We're looking to continue to grow into additional states. I think we're probably number 3 behind Penn National, and I believe it's maybe MGM from a regional perspective. I'm sorry, Caesars from a regional perspective. And we're looking to continue to be competitive in that space, and really, transition from purely a bricks and mortar operating company into the innovative technologies, including sportsbook and iGaming.
With the El Dorado purchases, as you mentioned, you'll be in Nevada. Any interest in someday being down the bottom of the state in Las Vegas?
That's a question we always get. And I said earlier that we're going to be opportunistic. So if the right opportunity arises, we'd certainly be interested. We do feel also, because as you drive towards an omni-channel, that you need to really be able to kind of cross-market your facilities, not only in technologies, but also from bricks and mortar. And we think we have a good presence for our regional casinos to send customers and cross-market with them now with Bally's. We used it with the Hard Rock in Biloxi, and also now we have, as I mentioned earlier, we'll be closing on the Mont Bleu in Nevada. So that gives us some good opportunity as we kind of work our way towards a one card system under the Bally's brand.
Now you've mentioned, George, you've mentioned Omnichannel a couple of times, and we know that you've got a number of initiatives and alliances in terms of iGaming and sports betting. Tell us about those opportunities.
Well, I'll talk about the omni-channel future for us. So as I said earlier, I believe that we have one of the best regional gaming portfolios with unencumbered sports licenses. And we think long-term that a lot of states through legislation are going to be approving iGaming. So, we have iGaming licenses as well. We're in a great position to take the next step, which is becoming, as I said earlier, the best omni-channel gaming operator. Our advantage really is our databases at all our properties. At the end of the day, this is a customer acquisition game. Success will be determined how we convert the databases that we're now acquiring through all the bricks and mortar assets into online subscribers. And we believe we built the foundation to take this opportunity. And we have capital, as I mentioned earlier. We're a lowly levered, really nice balance sheet. We have high levels of liquidity. So as opportunities arise, we're going to continue to add to our portfolio and continue to add bricks and mortar and the databases associated with that. We have market access as a result of that. And then I talked about the database. With our physical properties, databases need to be converted from bricks and mortar into internet space. And there's an acquisition cost to that. And because we have a significant number of players in our bricks and mortar databases, it's going to be less costly to convert those customers to online players. Then we have a regulatory acumen. In Rhode Island, we've done a lot, in order to get the tools in order to compete with Massachusetts and Connecticut. As I said earlier, we ran a referendum, and also in Dover, we were able to legislatively pass tax legislation. So that's going to help as we continue to get into that space and try and motivate states to look for additional ways of generating income for their state. And then earlier we both mentioned the fact that we acquired the Bally's brand. So now we have a brand. So the last pieces of the puzzle are really to take the next step for media relationships, and also go out and develop or acquire or merge with a tech stack. And once you have that, we have all the pieces that we need.
You had mentioned your legislative acumen, I believe, might have been the term you used, and in Rhode Island to position yourself for the growing competition in that region of the country. You had an interesting situation with IGT, whereby the two companies were in a bit of a dispute, but you ended up with a business solution in which both companies are aligned. Could you tell us a little bit about that and what impact you expect that to have?
Sure. So when you look at our portfolio, 3 of our 14 properties are in lottery states, and that's in Rhode Island and Delaware. And in those states, it's a little bit different than the traditional gaming space. In those states, the lottery or the state is technically the operator, and we own the property and we manage the property, but technically they're the operator. And as a result of that, they enter into contractual arrangements with slot providers. So through their arrangements, they actually put slot product on the gaming floors for us. And pre-IGT's merger with GTech had 50% of the floor under that relationship. Once the two companies merged, IGT ended up with 87% of the slot floor. And as a result of that, there wasn't as much of an effort to stay competitive, because typically there would be a measurement period where the state would take slots away if they were underperforming, or give slots to them if they were overperforming. So the product deteriorated over that period of time, and it really made us competitive. It gave us a competitive disadvantage to Connecticut and also to Massachusetts, which was opening up with all new product at the time. So the step that got us to be involved was when GTech was trying to extend their contract period. And as a result of that, they would end up with 100% of the floor. And that's the point in time where we stepped in and we tried to make a difference in that process. And that's where you started to see all the bad press, not only for us, but also for IGT and to some extent the state. But we managed through that, and we ended up with an arrangement with us, a joint venture arrangement with us and IGT, to where we will now have 40% of the gaming floor. As a result of that, I really believe, because we'll be continuously evolving that product and putting new product on the floor to be competitive, that their 60% will have to keep up and stay competitive as well. Also, they added some measurements within the legislation, hopefully if it's passed, where we have to maintain the freshness of the floor with capital improvements on an annual basis. So, we're hoping that, we think it's accretive to us immediately, and we're hoping that this special session in November is passed.
Okay. Well, George, we've covered a lot of ground in a short period of time. Maybe we can conclude by you elaborating on what you would like investors to best understand about Valley.
Well, I talked a lot about kind of what we've done really under the radar over the last 2 years, to the point of where I really believe, again, that we have the best regional portfolio with unencumbered sports and iGaming licenses. And we're just going to continue to evolve and get into the spaces, which I think is complementary to bricks and mortar, which is really into this technological space. And once we add the last two pieces of the puzzle, I think that we could have the best omni-channel in gaming. And certainly with the Bally's brand, we think that's going to be impactful, because we'll be able to brand everything across bricks and mortar, as well as iGaming and sports betting space. So, we're looking to evolve to the next step, and we think there's a lot of good things to come. And we think that as a result of the things that we've done more recently, that once we bring these acquisitions into our portfolio, that they're going to be immediately accretive. And we're just continuing to evolve this company and try and stay ahead of the competition.
Well, George, very interesting, very informative. It sounds like an exciting ride. Thanks very much for participating today.
Appreciate you having me, Frank.